Josh Gray is going to say a prayer before we get started.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we ask, Lord, that you touch this meeting tonight, Lord, and bless all those that's healed. Lord, let us do whatever we can to keep our oil that you have given us healthy, and touch those that's healed tonight, Lord, and touch the sick, and bless their health and their finances, and help them get the government to see that we need more help in this area for all the needs and all the things that's healed, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
First of all, I'd like to know if there's any representatives in here or media. Well, my name is Vina, Colley, and I'm president of a group called Portsmouth Residents for Environmental Safety and Security, and I co-chair and co-founded National Nuclear Workers for Justice. I worked at the Portsmouth Gaseous Diffusion plant, and when I got sick, I started studying and trying to gather documents to see what was going on. I didn't know it, but I guess in 1983 I became a whistleblower because I wrote to the Department of Labor about, I thought, more than 30 people were being exposed to radiation and chemicals at the plant. Piketon is one of the largest facilities in the world. Not only is it the largest facility in the world, but it has two buildings that is the largest facility in the world. It is sitting over top of fractured bedrock. It is has the largest aquifer in the Midwest. In 1957, the state of Ohio knew that workers from Piketon were dying. The health department in the state of Ohio turned their back on the unions when they were trying to get help. At one time, they had like 4 or 5 union workers in 5 different hospitals that were all dying of different type of cancers. In 1979, there was a hot cylinder that dropped. We lost over 24,000 pounds of uranium hexafluoride. None of us were ever told. The community wasn't evacuated. And this drop of this cylinder was compared to 3 Mile Island, except it was worse than 3 Mile Island, and no one in the community nor the workers were told. 1979, our union went to Washington, D.C. They struck over health and safety issues. Denny Bloomfield was the leader of the union at that time. I get hired in 1980, and I'm not even aware of what's going on in Washington, D.C. Just like none of the workers were aware that we were being exposed to plutonium, uranium, transuranics, fluorides. It's an overwhelming story. It's heartbreaking what they've done to this area and these communities. In 1979, they buried a whole nickel plant at Piketon. And in 1987, press was formed when the citizens of Pike County filed a lawsuit, which they won. After 21 years and laid up in the courts, they finally won the lawsuit. But the judge wouldn't hear the radioactive component of the facility. In 1999, press, Mary Bird Davis and 3 or 4 whistleblowers from Paducah, Kentucky on the same day, we broke the story about plutonium being in a gaseous diffusion plant. They were quick to start hearings and coming in here and telling the workers that they did expose us to plutonium and that they were upset because we didn't know. And they had hearings in Piketon. We testified about what they did to all of us. They took it and covered me up immediately because I felt like every worker should get $150,000 plus a medical card, and we did write up a resolution on that. Cancer is the highest in the state here and the highest in the nation. So I don't want to take a lot of time up and tell you what we did and what we didn't do. We've been kind of like the backbone of getting a lot of these stories broke. Sometimes we don't get credit for it, but that's okay because at least the stories are getting out. We found out in 92 or 95, I testified to the NRC that the bedrock was fractured at the plant. I also told them again in a petition, 2005, that the bedrock was fractured under that site. I also told them again in 2014, and they still haven't come forward with any solutions or anything that's going on with this bedrock fractures. In 2017, Billy Spencer and the city of Piketon, he's the mayor of Piketon, and excuse me, I got bronchitis. So. But anyway, the village of Piketon hired a third-party assessment, and sure enough, the bedrock's fractured. We've got to get the community and the workers involved in this. We've got to make our representatives listen to us. Senator Brown's office said that they would send a legislator here, but evidently they didn't do it. So we tried, and we had a couple of speakers. David Manuta will be here at 6:15. He just flying in from Philadelphia, and Gary Section was supposed to be here to talk about the Berlin disease. So I'm not sure what happened to Gary. But we do have Brad over here, Brad Ferguson. He's going to talk a little bit about the hearing loss.
Thank you, Vina. I'm with Beltone Hearing Center. My name is Brad Ferguson. A little bit about myself. I have been working for Beltone for almost 15 years now. I'm from Huntington, West Virginia. I just recently moved, changed offices. I've been working in Eastern Kentucky for about 12 years. And now I'm over here about 3 weeks, and I'll be taking over from Robbie Black. I don't know if a few of you all know him. He's retiring. One thing we're going to be doing over the next few months is working with Robbie, with you guys, to help you all with your hearing. Some of the things we offer you, no charge to the hearing evaluation, no charge test service. We do the impairment ratings every 2 years that you all have to have done. I forgot the Meals and Toller. Yeah, Meals and Toller, we send everything with them. We have a working relationship with them. It's pretty seamless for you guys. You all just have to come in, have the evaluation done, and we will pretty much take it from there. We got a good partner in crime over here, Teresa Edwards. She's been here for about a year and a half. She's very on top of everything that you all need done, and quite a few other insurance problems that we run into. But it is very hands-off for you all. You just have to come in, have the evaluation done. It takes roughly about a half hour to 45 minutes, and we'll take care of everything from there. Mr. Gerlacher, the attorney a lot of you all work with, we have a very good working relationship with him as well. And if any of you all want to make an appointment to come in, come over to the table when we're done here, and we'd be happy to set you up an appointment. All right, thank you.
Thank you. One of the biggest things about this meeting is we're getting ready to release some documents where the workers were exposed to plutonium and transuranics, and the NIOSH knew it. There's a NIOSH report, and then there's a report from Los Alamos Laboratories. And we're going to release this, and I'm hoping some in the audience can talk about these reports. And I want to read to you, defendants, these are some court records that I have that you can't get because the records were sealed on the community residence lawsuit. Mark Marietta own study of pine needles. From there was uranium uptake in pine needles in samples taken within 5 miles of the Portsmouth Gaseous Diffusion plant. These were off-site fluoride releases. In 1999, when we broke the story about the plutonium, then our representatives was Mike DeWine, George Warnovich, and Ted Strickland. They admitted that plutonium was sent into the plant, but they only said it was diluted, but then they found out one shipment was sent in to Piketon, but that's not true. We got plutonium from West Valley, New York, Savannah River, Hanford, a lot of nasty places, Russia. And so these workers, there's no way that we could have suited up because they never told us.
Mike, can I see that for a second, please? Yeah.
And then these were the workers that died in 1957. This was one of them, radiation exposures. I can't remember what Nathan Sayers got paid, but Herb Smith in 62 got paid $12,500. His widow got paid that much. So it's nothing new to the government. I don't know why they're continuing to cover this up. And our main purpose here today is to show evidence that the entire plant was and is contaminated with transuranics and fission products. Well, there was some that was diluted, but there was some that wasn't diluted. Okay. But there's a possibility that said there was some that wasn't.
I'm going to make a little correction on this letter. I've had this for some time. The plutonium that came into our plant, it was undiluted. It wasn't diluted plutonium. It was undiluted plutonium. And that's why I asked to see which letter she had, because that is a very important point.
Yes, they tried to claim it was undiluted when it came here, but it was not. It was undiluted. It was not been watered down. I'm not a scientist or technical person, but I read their documents. In their documents, I read all this stuff, and you can think, what in the world are they saying? So I was very lucky to get some experts to come and help me. We did studies of soil samples off-site. We found radium-226 that was leaking from the site. A Siberian scientist came over here, and his findings was the same as Norm Busky from Columbia River. So we've had a lot of experts and third-party assessments through the years to back up what we have to say. And David Manuta wanted me to let everyone know that the DOL is becoming more claimant-friendly on Part E loan claims on COPD and neuropathy. And they also have a claim for Lou Gehrig's disease that has just been awarded. So that's a big step. So hopefully we'll get more workers compensated. And my really concern is why they cut off the period of 92 for these workers, because we never exposed the plutonium documents until 1999. So they cut these workers that are working now. It's off in 1992. You're not covered. And if you get sick, which workers are getting sick now, but they're not covered. And we've really got to talk some about the hold-up material in these buildings. We cannot let them go in there and demo these buildings like they want to do. And so maybe Chuck, you can give us a little background on why they shouldn't demo the buildings, because you're kind of like more like a chemist than me.
Well, I'm not
The
a
knowledge,
chemist.
yeah, you have the knowledge.
I am not a chemist, but and if I say anything, I have to say officially for the record, everything I say is my opinion. So everything I'm saying is my opinion. I'm saying that for a reason. That's what the lawyers say I have to say now. I read the new paper that's out, and it was given to me from a person at the plant on the destruction, how they plan to take down the 326. It's in their newsletter, so you could probably look it up. They're not going to cut the pipes out. They're going to leave them. Here, in my opinion, is a problem with that. When they turned that plant to cold cycle, as many of us know, when you turn the heat off on US6, and it wasn't just US6 U-235, and that's what a lot of people don't really understand. There were other things in there that they did not make us aware of, besides just the plutonium. When they cold cycled, the gases that were in there, as you all know, froze out, or it solidified. And when that happens, that's just about like trying to hammer on concrete, basically. So, but because they were pumping air the whole time, it made channels. And the only reason I know this, I was the OSHA certified investigator for the plant, but I also worked with the police department. And they sent me to process school, sent me to OSHA school. That's how I learned all this. It made channels, so when they decided after several years of doing this, well, let's try to pull a sample. And anybody that's worked out there knows how they hook up, try to pull a sample. They got negatives. They got negatives because everything had solidified. The material is still in the pipes. I was at the public meeting when the representative from Florida DOE were there, and they made a comment that there was only 9% assay in the pipes in the 326. Now, all of us that work there know better than that. The actual 330 building on the south end, when it got to there, it was already 20% weapons grade. And what some people did not realize later on in the 90s, to save money, because to save money on power, they were shooting it back up to the north end and running it through the second time. So when it crossed, it was already at 30%. So now, those of us that are familiar with the process system realize that the pipe in the 330 that's not supposed to be weapons grade, except on the south end, where it crossed, has 30% in it. The converters has 30% residue in it. All your headers have 30% residue. The same thing in the 26. That is not 9%. Part of the problem, and where in my opinion, all the old heads are basically gone. The people that are being told, I can't imagine they are really that ignorant, but maybe they are. But I really don't believe that. I believe all this is being done by design. Everybody knows that all the high assay weapons grade material, all that had to be spaced a certain way to keep from having a criticality. If they knock those pipes down with a wrecking ball in that building, like they're talking about, except on the south end where they say, and if you look at the picture, they've got like a white strip that goes across on the south end. That's supposedly the only place there's 97 or weapons grade. If you look at that and know that they do have weapons grade the entire building, I wouldn't want to be around that day when they start knocking in pipes. Because those pipes are on 24-inch centers for a reason. Keep from having criticality. And if they drop those pipes, in my opinion, with that material inside, and no folks, it is not yellow cake. And that's what they're telling people. Oh, well, it's just got yellow cake. That is not yellow cake. That is enriched UF6. One of the other things that they did not tell us is when they were producing the 97% assay, there was a lot of U-234 in there. And this is how I'm going to explain it to you. U-234, depending on whose textbook you are reading, is 3,000 to 10,000 times more radioactive than U-235. The balls and guys, remember when they used to have freeze outs in the process building? What did they do? They went in there, they would try to treat it chemically. When that didn't work, they take welders in there with acetylene torches, go in there and warm it up and turn it back to gas. How did they find them? With a neutron monitor. Oh, that meant there was neutrons there. Gee whiz. And as they like to refer to me in Washington, D.C., DOE and USEC, I'm just an ignorant Appalachian hillbilly who don't know how to read. That's a true statement. They actually said that. But there's science on this, and what she said about the fractures, when Carl Kalbacher, when they did their report, in the 2014 up there at Waverly, they said there was no cracks in the bedrock. Where they hid that information was in the addendums. If you read the addendums, it says it's cracked both vertically and horizontally. Not only that, Maria Galani from Ohio EPA, she stood up there and took both hands and made quotation marks saying, if DOE does as they say, we will back it. Well, when did they ever start telling the truth? In my opinion, they never have. They have lied repeatedly. Now, not only that, but if you read in the addendums a little bit further, Ohio EPA law says you can't be within 200 feet of any type of water for radiation storage. They gave them a waiver. I think it's a little unusual to think that they gave them $3.5 million and they gave them a waiver. That waste cell is going to be 20 feet in the Tage River aquifer. One of the questions I asked up there that night at the meeting, and they did alter their minutes, they didn't put everybody's entire comments, is that I said, okay, you say the rubber liner is going to last for 1,000 years. We'll all be dead and gone. What's to worry about? My question was, what about the plutonium? What about the other daughter products that are there that they have not mentioned? That is the serious problem. The low assay material is one thing, but the plutonium, I know from a document that I read from an investigation with the DOE again, and if I remember correctly, it's 1/1,000,000th of a gram of plutonium causes cancer. Folks, you can't see 1/1,000,000th of a gram. Now, that rubber liner, the plutonium U-239, U-238, and 240. That's 3 of the plutoniums that shows that they have out there. That's their documents, not me. You're talking about let me make sure I got my figures right here. Excuse me while I lay my albatross down. That's impressive from working out there. $239 plutonium, the half-life, 24,110 years. I think that's a lot longer than a 1,000-year piece of rubber. Plutonium 240, 6,500 years. Americium, 7,370 years. U-234 can go up as long as 245,500 years. U-235, it's like 703.8 million years. Now this is what they're saying, that they're not going to put only material from that plant. But I got news for you, that plutonium and all that stuff, it didn't come from our plant. So if you want to get technical about it, I think they're in violation of their own law there. Now, she talked about the pilot plant. Pilot plant, and this was information that was released through a FOIA, through the West Virginia Congressman, if I remember correctly. That plant was part of the Manhattan Project. A lot of people didn't realize that, but it was on that site where Inco, the nickel plant, still is. People started getting sick. They made nickel slugs or something like that. And there had been, I believe, well, let's just say, probably hard weapons grade material there. So when they decided that people were getting sick, they contacted DOE and basically said, people get sick, oh, it didn't happen from us, we didn't do it. We didn't cause it. But we will tear it down for you. So they had a company called Cleveland Wrecking come in. This is in 78, and anybody that worked in 705 or around the 705 knows that when you have material that is radioactive with certain items on them, you can't just wash it off with soap and water. And that's what they told them they could do. The really, really bad stuff was brought to our plant. That was the stuff with the plutonium on it. And it was built or buried in the big hole that was just south of the 100 building. Many of you remember seeing that hole and seeing them trucks coming in uncovered, coming down the highway, coming down 52 through Portsmouth, up 23 into the plant. This stuff wasn't contained, it was just dumped in them coal buckets. I think they used, it was 39 railway cars that we used to help bring that in, and they were offloading it and dumping that in the hole. According to the DOE, when we was up there at the other public meeting, and they stated we're only going to put material from our plant. I said, whoa, wait a minute. You're going to dig up the pilot plant and put in that hole? Well, yes, that's on plant site. So it didn't come from here. That plutonium did not come from here. I was told that I couldn't talk about that because it was classified, but the documents we got were unclassified. So I went on, and they got very upset with me for bringing that up in a public meeting. But that's the way they like to play this game. Oh, you can't talk about that, that's classified. Well, you know what, most of us been through classification school, worked out there, we know what's classified and what's not. With that knowledge, now they're going to dig that up, put that material in that hole. The communities should be going nuts. Now, folks, I don't know how many of you know how far the Tage River goes. That's I think when I looked at the chart, it's like 1.5 miles wide underground river from the Ice Age, still flowing. It goes all the way down to Virginia. One of the questions I posed at the public meeting on record, I asked the question, how many people here have ever heard of Love Canal? And there was a pretty good crowd in there. I had 6 hands go up. They were older folks like me, and they knew what it was. And so I began to explain to this young crowd how the government had to buy this community and put a fence around it. Now, here's the way to look at this. With a rubber liner that's supposed to last 1,000 years. If the one plutonium will last for 28,000 years, which is greater, up here, down here. That's the way I look at it. First of all, it shouldn't be there. They shouldn't have got the variance to put it there. But the problem was, there's too many streams and creeks running through there, they had to pick a spot. Nothing radioactive in my opinion, should be stored east of the Mississippi River. It should all be west, out in the desert, where they have a facility that gets less than half an inch of rain a year. They don't want to move it out there, so that this be too costly. Well, they're already over on overruns now. So the cost would have been cheaper for them to move it out there. And I'll be honest with you, they want to talk, well, we're going to make a facility out there. We're going to have an industrial park. Would you want to put a business next to a radioactive waste site? I mean, common sense, folks. Now, they use that same kind of rubber liner at another facility. Guess what? It's already leaking. It's not even 1,000 years old. You what, got it? Groundhogs.
Oh no.
Dude, I'm serious. Groundhog, I've seen the cartoon that the guys came up with for this, and it was pretty hilarious. They drew a cartoon and they had sniper towers all the way around the facility where it was stored. They're talking to each other, so we've got the enemy coming, we've got him in sight, can I have a green light? Which for us that work security, that meant, can I shoot the guy? Yeah, so you got a green light, that means you want the person. But they're talking about groundhogs. Now, if a groundhog can eat a hole through that rubber liner, and it leaks, and now they're trying to patch those leaks, that should be set up a whole lot of red flags for people. When I brought that up, when they were doing their display up there, Dr. Manuta and myself were there, and we were asking their scientists very pointed questions. Now, I'm not sure what his nationality, I think he's from India, but he finally kept looking at DOE and the floors and you gotta help me here. And finally he said, he must go. And he just left. He wouldn't answer no more questions because he couldn't answer them because it's bad science in my opinion. For anybody to put something like that by an aquifer. Now here's the thing. If that rubber line, when it started, it's a matter of when. It's the way I look at it. When that plutonium and the other daughter products that are stored in there get out into the Tage River Valley, who's going to buy your house? I use the Tage River. My water, I live in Lucasville. It comes from Tage River Valley. Who's going to buy my house when I don't have water to flush my toilet? I don't have water. I can't even wash my clothes in it if it's contaminated. Who's going to buy my house? Not just my house, but all the people that use that all the way to Virginia. And that's how serious this is. We cannot get people to look at this because they think we're a bunch of ignorant hillbillies that don't know anything. I may be a hillbilly, I'm proud of that. That don't bother me a bit, but I am not ignorant. I do know how to read, even though they say I don't. Our government officials are aware of a lot of this. Everybody's turned a blind eye. Why are they turning that blind eye? I have my opinion, but I'm not going to go there. What's happened. But, folks, you need to start writing letters to the different senators and congressmen. You need to let them know exactly how you feel about this. I was never an anti-nuclear, but I'm about ready to step across that line. Because what they're doing is so ignorant. And we're supposed to be the uneducated ones. This is just totally ridiculous. Something has to be done. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, the only way I see stopping this right now is if they file an injunction on that waste cell to stop it and have a finding of fact of what's really there and bring it out into the public. have a lot of other information, but I cannot discuss it. And I'm sorry about that, but I'm not allowed to. Anything else?
I don't know, see if anybody has any questions. I want to recognize Senator Brown's office is here, and the Daily Times are here. So we'd like to thank you for coming, and hope that you carry this back to Senator Brown. It is a shame what that plant has done to us, to the community, to the workers, to the families. I mean, we wore our street clothes to work in, and we carried this stuff home. We did our laundry. You know, we carried it home, we carried it to the community. The workers went to the barber shops, the workers went to the laundromats. You know, this whole area is contaminated, and it's time, you know, we told them in '92 that we had plutonium, and they let it go till '99 until we finally was able to get national media coverage on it, and they admitted it in '99, and then turned around and tried to cover it up again. So now they're stating that they had told us that we have plutonium, but they don't want to tell you how much. And the reason it's important for us to have these documents released about the plutonium and the transuranics is because we are looking for them to find out what happened, why we had plutonium and they never told us. Number one, it's going to help the workers. They're fighting these workers and jumping through loopholes, trying to get compensated. And so once we get a full accountability of what they've done to us, then we can probably get more workers compensated.
Could we have a representative from Senator Brown's office stand up and introduce herself? Who's that?
She's not a media person. She's come to take notes to give to Senator Brown.
Okay. This lady I'm talking back and forth to, is that person?
Please don't film.
Okay. Okay, I believe I've talked to you before in 2008.
Yeah, we did. We met.
Very possibly.
Yeah.
The other reason it's important to release all these documents is because they want to put this stuff in the waste cell, over top of Page River Valley, our drinking water. It's got to stop. They cannot do that anymore. In 1991, the DOE designated us as a low-level radioactive waste site out here at Piketon. This is the map right here that shows you every state that was designated to be the DOE's nuclear waste dumps. And Piketon was the low level, because for years they have lied about low level at Piketon. We are not low level. We made weapons grade material to 97% high assay. Nothing low about that. And the plutonium that's come through there, and the Russian stuff that we put through the system in other foreign countries, it is not low level. The workers are having trouble getting compensated because they don't want to talk about the fluorides. They don't want to talk about any of the chemicals that we've been exposed to. They stuck out beryllium there, which is a good thing because there's a lot of workers that's got beryllium disease, but they didn't even want to pay them.
Didn't pay me.
I had to go to the union hall to get and tell them, hey, wait a minute, beryllium is on the list. Why are we being checked for it? So then they started checking some of the workers from beryllium. They didn't want to pay the contractors. And I said, hey, wait a minute, you're paying contractors at the other sites, how come not here at Piketon? And Piketon is one of the first of the 3 sites that was a special cohort site, which meant they destroyed our records, they didn't keep records, and they falsified our records. So the burden proof was not on the workers, it was on the government. But now, when I went to a meeting in DC in October, the Department of Labor said, the burden of proof is on you, the worker. Well, how does the worker prove it when they don't want to release all the records? So we have to get them to release these records on the plutonium and the transuranics out there, the fluorides, everything. I do have a GAO report, 1985, where they said that fluorides in here at Piketon double the standard at Oak Ridge and Paducah. But Ohio doesn't have a standard, so they can go ahead and gas us all they want to. And they've gotten by with it for 50-some years. And I'd like to open it up to the floor to see if some of you workers might want to talk a little bit. And then David Manuta should be coming in here from Cincinnati. He's off the plane. So he should be here about 6:15. So is there anyone else here? Maybe somebody want to tell about their family and they didn't work at the plant, and they're sick and they got cancer. We got the highest rate of cancer in Southern County here. Not only in Southern County and the state, but the national. Nationally, we have the highest cancer of anyone. Back in the 90s, we complained about that. But what was going on was, when we went to Columbus or Cincinnati, our cancer was being counted there, in Columbus and Cincinnati. And then they finally put in the zip code, and it kicked it back where our cancer was, and all of a sudden, then we have the highest in the state. So they had covered up, thinking they were all stupid and dumb. We can't read, and we don't want to read. I don't like reading, but I had no other choice. I wanted to know what was going on with my body, because when they hired me as a healthy worker. I was a healthy worker. And I guess when I filed my first grievance in '83 is when I became a whistleblower. It's the retaliation, the name calling, what they put these workers through that have blown the whistle is unbelievable. They go to your community and tell them that you're crazy and this and that, not to listen to them. And all the time, they're lying to us. They've been lying to us since they've been in our community. Look around Portsmouth. What have they done for this community? They sucked all the resources out. The air's polluted, the water's polluted. They've sucked out the resources here. So I want to open this up to some of you workers. Maybe you can tell your stories, and I know we're concerned about a lot of workers that I don't understand this. We wrote the story about Plutonium in '99, and then all the way from 1992, we told them that, but they come up with this bill that workers aren't going to get compensated after '92. That don't make no sense. They broke the story in '99, but they broke off the compensation bill in '92. And these workers that are in these process buildings right now, they're signing a death certificate, and they have no compensation coming to them. They're fighting the ones who've been working there for a long time. I've got three papers this week from different workers that worked out there, and their parents worked out there in the 50s, and they turned them down. One lady had breast cancer, liver cancer, and lung cancer. And her family was turned down for the $125,000. How much can they do to these families? It's just horrible. Okay, is there someone who'd like to come forward and talk?
Thank you, Vina.
What?
It's been a rough road.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a rough road, she said. It's been a really rough road. I know some of you. I don't know all of you. My name's Joni Fearing. My dad was Jim Fearing. They called him Big Jim. Some of you are probably too young to have worked with him, but he was there from 54 to 64. And we moved away in 66 to another state. So I was a little girl then, and so I didn't know anything about his work. He called it the A plant. He was, they might have all used the A for anonymous, like they couldn't talk about it. And you know that, they signed, you had to sign, many of you probably signed paperwork saying you would never speak about what was going on. And I know it was for safety. I know it was Cold War issues. I know it was important at the time. But we're beyond that now, let's hope. We don't move back into that realm, I don't know. But we're beyond that now, and we know the truth, and the truth shall set us free, as we say, although some of us will never be free of the toxins running around in our bodies. My dad had at least 4 cancers, and now we believe 5, when he died. And again, he was still keeping the secret. I don't think he told any of his doctors for his bone, skin, possibly brain, lung, and prostate cancers. I don't know how many dozens of doctors he saw. My mother died younger than him. My mother was washing his clothes. as she talked about, his uniform, they were told to not wash them with the family laundry. The workers were told to take showers when they got home before they played with the kids or, did anything. And I think one of the houses we had back then had a shower in the basement, where he could take off his work clothes and shower. But I was too young to remember that. But I was born in '60, so he'd been there for a number of years prior. While my mother was getting pregnant and having kids and having miscarriages. So it goes on and on and on. So when I was living in New Jersey years later, I went to a specialist for allergies and they found strontium and uranium in my hair analysis. And I looked at my doctor and I said, how'd that get there? And he said, I don't know. And it wasn't until I came back to Portsmouth, where I was born, here at Mercy Hospital, in 2004, that I learned what the A plant was. That it was the atomic plant, that it was the Plutonium Gaseous Diffusion uranium enrichment plant. And that was because I went to a church service, and the man in front of me said, you have a lovely voice, would you like to join the choir? This is when I came back for a death in the family. And I said, well, I'm just passing through, but thank you. And I told him my name. He said, well, I worked with a Jim Fearing at the A plant. And I said, well, that was my dad. And he said, oh my gosh, you can't leave until you see my wife. She was your mother's best friend. And I called my sister that night and said, guess who I met at a church service? And I told her the story. It was Bill and Dottie Coons. Some of you may know. And Bill died a few years back. So anyway, she said, ask about the claim. I said, what claim? Well, Dad worked at the A plant. Yeah, I know. What do you mean? Well, it was nuclear. I'm like, what? It was nuclear? What? So I had my life pulled out from under me. Why my mom died of a rare form of cancer. They actually named a treatment after her in Michigan because the doctors had never seen it. They had to develop a different kind of treatment because they didn't, and we didn't know to tell the doctors that my mom had been exposed for 10 years to, while she was having babies, to uranium, strontium, plutonium, God only knows what else. And it was a reproductive organ, but a rare one. It started in the fallopian tube and it was endometrial, and they don't see that normally. So we didn't even have the information to tell my mother's doctors. My dad didn't say anything. Now, he might not have known, many of them did not know exactly what was going on. So it's not like he was keeping a secret that could have helped my mother or him get better. Maybe he just didn't even know. It came out much later that there was plutonium. So anyway, I keep saying, and I've said this to Senator Brown's staff. I tried to meet with him twice now, going out to DC on the train, crossing the river and taking the train to DC. And for various reasons, which weren't always his fault, the appointment got delayed or canceled. So once I had a little rolling suitcase with paperwork in it to meet him at the Capitol for my 8 o'clock coffee, and it was right after London. The bombing went off and they wouldn't let me take it, so I had to take it over to his office, which was a long way off, and come back, and he was already in session by then, so that wasn't his fault. But anyway, I tried to do this. So I met him here in town at one of his forums, and he was very gracious about it, but I don't know what they think. I don't know what they're going to do for the secondary and tertiary exposures, the wives, husbands, children. I don't know. They don't want to touch that. That's the tip of an iceberg. They don't want to talk about it. How many of us are sick and don't even know it? Why? My sister can't have kids. I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But that's been a heartache for her. She was the youngest in the family. How much exposure did she have? All of us have had various health problems that were unexplainable. So, and my mother died younger than my dad. And she didn't even work there. She was just washing his clothes and being exposed to that for 10 years. So anyway, this is my story. Some of you may know I ran for state rep, Democrat last cycle, and lost to my opponent, or my primary opponent, but that's okay. I would have, and still do, feel strongly, and would have worked really hard and still will, even though I'm not in an authoritative position, I think we all have that authority just from being exposed. We all have that authority to fight this and to be heard, because all of us, and my dad especially, and the workers especially, have given their lives for our country, for the safety of our country. And did that willingly, but without enough information to make that decision. And what happens in these communities, unfortunately, and Vina's touched on it, where there's not a lot of jobs, well, this becomes about work. And I'll tell you the truth, when I first came back and I learned what had happened in my family and started actively going around to all the presidential rallies with my no nuke sign, I am in the no nuke category, I started to get scared. Vina, I used to stay with her sometimes. I would go to different places and not be home because I was scared, getting scared for my safety. I know other people have had threats who have been fighting this, because then it becomes about taking food out of someone's mouth. I don't want to take food out of anybody's mouth, but I want people to have safe work to do, as safe as possible. Every job has risks, anything like that. And other jobs too can have risks, but as safe as possible with the knowledge of what the risks are, so that people can make those decisions for themselves and not be stuck taking a job that's extremely dangerous because there's no other options, or because somehow in the governmental realm they decided, as someone has pointed out, we're just dumb hillbillies and we don't deserve any better, we don't need any better, we're expendable. That's not okay. We've given 50 years of our people's health and lives to this cause. And we need the recognition for that. The people that are sick need the money for that, so they can get better as well as possible and live well as long as they can. So thank you for letting me speak. Thank you, Vina. I probably went a little over what you would normally do, but thank you.
Kim Ely, would you like to come up and speak?
No, I'll stay here.
Okay.
One of my big issues is with the program, it's just the compensation part of this. They say the burden's on the claimant. I understand that. It should, and that's fine. But they're putting the burden on the doctor. You need the doctors for feeding letters. You need as least likely as not. If you don't have that, you're setting up. It's awful. And I just think that this burden that they're putting on the doctor, he can diagnose you, he can treat you. But me go in, or anybody go in and say, oh, I worked at the 326, or I worked at the 705, I did this, I was in that. I can tell really the doctor anything if you want the truth. He's going to look at me like, so, I have such an issue with the letters and putting this burden on the claimants about these letters. When you're really sick, and when you're sick, this is the last thing you want to do is be chasing some words. You're chasing words. I should be able to tell the program, I've been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma of my lung. I worked there from this to this to this. Why does the doctor have to give me, it's as least likely as not? How is he supposed to know? I don't even know. I know work there. They all know they work there. We all know they work there. But there's so much documentation to back up, a lot of this, where these people have been, they've been in these releases, and they've got it set to where you're just stationed, like in a corner somewhere, and you've never done nothing. And each person has a story, where they worked, what they've done, And that's a real big, I mean, I've had a covered cancer. I fought it all the way. I mean, you know, and you think, well, it would have been easy for me, you know, because I had a covered cancer and I was employed, I had the right years. And then, you know, I muddled through it. But I've always had to sneak around, get that letter, and prove, you know, it was as least likely as not I had asthma or I got consequential illnesses now because of chemo and, you know, things like that. It's crazy. And it's hard. And these doctors, they're just so wrapped up in, some of them will do it, and then some of them, no, I don't want to get involved in a lawsuit. And you know, I just think they need to take the burden off the doctor. Somehow, some way, let up on them and take person, their word more at it, and you know, the conditions. I mean, you know, I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to kind of figure this stuff out. You know, it's proven that a lot of this stuff, you know, you work there, you know, just like the firemen. I'm going to go ahead and harp on that. You know, they're acting like these guys didn't exist out there. I just shake my head at that. It's just that, you know, one of their classifications that I've been finding this out. And that's kind of, you know, give them a break. I mean, they had a classification. Who would have ran into a building during a fire? It would have been a fireman. They didn't sit in a fire station. My common sense tells me that. So.
They were checking all the fire extinguishers and all the process buildings.
Yeah.
They were there. They were the ones that went in to plug the releases. They were there doing that.
And you know, it's just like I don't know who wrote these books and well, this classification, you know, they couldn't have done that, or this classification couldn't have done that. It's just, there's got to be something done to make it easier for people to get their claims passed through and get these letters that they need. I mean, these letters, like, you're putting this burden on this doctor. I mean, yeah, he can say, I had asthma, or I had COPD, or, you know, whatever. And that's one of my biggest gripes with this program is this letter writing campaign that these poor guys got to be on. And some of these doctors, they've never heard of the place. And how many minutes do you get with a doctor? Well, not very many. And you know, you try to explain this program in 2 or 3 minutes to a doctor that had just diagnosed you with COPD or this, and I was in this classification, or I was in that classification, I did this, I did that, I had these years. I mean, the guy's head's spinning. It's took me, I've been doing this for 7 years. I've done that 6, 7 years ago. I'm finally wrapping my head around this mess. And it's maddening. And, you know, and it's not user-friendly, that's for sure, or anything. But that's my biggest problem. One of them, anyways. Thank you.
I'll say a few words. My name's Jeff Walburn. I testified in Washington in 2000 in front of the United States Senate. Like to tell you a few things about that. My son and I, we thought we got to speak for 5 minutes up there. We were there on behalf of all the workers. It's not funny to him, but there was a man named Bob Alvarez who had worked with Hazel O'Leary on the human radiation experiments. And if you ever get the opportunity to read those, you need to read those human radiation experiments. I think he worked with her on that program, but John Game, who was our union president at that time, Denny Bloomfield was for the OCAW 3689 John went to Chicago, and Bob Alvarez was there to speak to the workers, because it wasn't just our plant. And you've got to know this is a national problem. This lie, this cover-up, it is a national problem. And so Bob Alvarez, in the meeting, John stands up and said, hey, I got a problem. So we got some problem with our dosimetry there. They're falsifying our dosimetry. What it amounts to, and some of the work you can call, they call burnout work. Well, if you've gotten too many exposures, they have to rotate you out, but they have to pay you while you're off. Well, they didn't pay us, they just changed our records. And firemen, when there was an emergency, I can tell you how it went down. They had a shift superintendent, and he didn't know everything, he knew a lot, but they would get the fire captain, they would get the police captain, they would get the heads of every department, but the firemen were the ones going in with the meters, seeing how far they could get in. And the fire in 98, Mark Andronis, who is the chief there now, told me he thought he saw the devil. That's how big that fire was. And to suggest that these firemen didn't do their job, or they didn't go into these areas, they were the first ones in. And as far as rules and things that should have been done, it was up to the company to know if the heights of certain things would pump to where they were. It wasn't, they had engineers. These guys are just trying to use the equipment that they're given. And I tell you what, you do some checking on that fire, we're all lucky we're here. And those firemen were the first ones there, and they stayed till they put it out. It was not reported. And I've got a question now. There's been a rumor this week that there was another fire at the plant. Has anyone read anything in the newspaper about that fire? I'll take that as a no. The rumor is that it was a converter that caught on fire, and it got so hot that it smoked a 33 building. That's the rumor. That's the rumor. But so the question is, why wasn't that reported to the news? Was it something again that would have gotten so out of hand that that maybe they should have called another fire department in, or we should have put people on notice, or blown the sirens to warn the neighbors? No, they're not going to do that. They're going to cover it up again. And it looks like that's what they have done, is cover it up again. So let's digress back to me testifying. So get up, and we're testifying in front of Fred Thompson, who's chair of the meeting. Now, Vina's talked about this. We had a meeting in '99. That was the first time that David Michaels had said there was plutonium brought to the plant. We know about 4 to 5 times, some undiluted, some from foreign countries. But the point being is people will make the statement, well, you knew what you were getting into when you went out there to work. No, we did not. We did not know what we were getting into. The government wasn't honest with us. We went to, I testified in Washington, funny story. Herman Potter was sitting with me and was getting pretty angry because the sheriff was watching my wife and my daughter, or my son, excuse me, he wouldn't like that, but my son, and I had runners going to my house because I was fearful that I didn't want to call my own house. So we meet with Fred Thompson. He goes down the Senate hallway, he comes back with a wheelbarrow full of pages, and I said, what's that? And he said, that's your testimony. And my son and I used the stove timer because we thought we were going to get 5 minutes to talk. Well, I got longer to talk, and that's probably not good for them. But at that meeting, I accused Doe of being criminal. and I accused the subcontractors of being criminal. I have it in writing. I have written to the IG. I have written, I've told it in front of OCAS. I've said it in front of the United States Senate. But what we didn't know when we were having dinner that night before, and I was upset at Gary Sexton for asking me what I was going to say the next day. I said, Gary, you know what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to say. Ask Herman. Herman knows. And so I get back to my hotel room. They had leaked what I was going to say to the newspaper. And I took a bodyguard with me, John Game. I opened up my curtain. You could walk to my room from the roof. John's room, we had already commented, it had an S-curve in it. It had been batter-rammed before. So John's been in combat before, and he made a comment to me. He said, well, what do you want to do, run out in the dark, honey? And I said, no. So we barricaded ourselves with weapons in that room the night before because we believed that they would kill us for what we were going to say. And I believe that now. And I'm telling you, I sat up there and I testified and I told that Doe was criminal. Guess who they let do the investigation? Doe. Again. So Doe does the investigation, but then more. I find out that Fred Thompson, who I'm accusing Lockheed as criminal, is working, his son is working as a lobbyist for Lockheed. I find out that Fred Thompson had taken $17,000 from Lockheed, and that they're running his campaign, and that the only reason that he ran and got his meeting in Washington was because we had a meeting at the Comfort Inn, 1999. Senator DeWine, now our governor, and I want to say this, that there is some conspicuous absence of elected officials, and then some don't even want to know that they're here. So, and I'll take that. I'm from Kentucky, so Kentucky, that's where I lived there last. I found out, be plain spoken, you can be ignorant, but I'm not that ignorant. And for the plant to suggest that the 5 counties that are around the plant are the stakeholders when the Tates Valley Aquifer goes clear to Virginia, what a joke. I mean, that is a horrible, horrible joke. And all the people that get their well water, and I grew up out in the country, we all got well water. And so these people they attacked Chick that night, they've attacked Vina. When she says there's plutonium, well, they immediately attacked her and says, well, we've always said that. See, I can tell you the time and date you did it. But I can also tell you that C.A. Romaine in 1957 was writing Thomas Mancuso because men were getting sick from plutonium in 1957, and he was the president of the OCAW, and they didn't know why they were getting sick, and it was plutonium. And it's been brought in, and they'll say, well, it was brought in feed. Where from? Where did it come from? Did it come from France? I think so. Did it come from Hanford? I think so. Has it come from...
I believe it come from Russia.
It come from Russia. It came from... it come through as feed material through Paducah. And then they add arsenic. They add arsenic to the system. So, talked to a man the other day there that was ESMH in 326. He said, we walked down to 326, 61 visible outgassings. I said, okay, what's in the outgassings? He said, everything. Arsenic, if there's plutonium in there and it's in the gaseous form, it's being outgassed. And they're running into pockets of gases out there now, and they're having fires that they don't want to tell nobody about. And, There's an old joke about going through someone's backside to pull their tooth. That's about what we gotta do to get anything out of DOE, is go through their doggone backside and pull their teeth. And I'm getting tired of it. I'm getting tired of being lied to, getting tired of my friends getting sick. Now, here's a document you don't know about. There's a man named Bob Rinsky. Robert Rinsky, and the way that the document is worded is that we don't normally do this way, but on your epidemiology study, we release the findings before we release the outtakes. That letter was addressed to Herman Potter, and it was addressed to Dan Minder. And it was an explanation of those outtakes, and the outtakes were in that. And it's through NIOSH. And what they said was that the record keeping at Portsmouth was so bad, it was so bad, that they had to create a matrices. And I said, matrices based on what? We've got reports that says that pigeon manure is the only thing that gives cancer out there to plant. And we have that document. As schooled to me, Dr. Manuta says that we were ingesting in these outtakes, these outgassings, U-234, and then so it was going into our system, but we're getting hit with neutrons, so we're being slowly cooked inside like a microwave from neutrons. Now, I can't see how, as Vina has said, that you can be sick in 1992, and Dr. Manuta has also stated this, and I am quoting him, if it was there, it is there. It did not go anywhere, and I just believe that the stories that's coming out of these people, and here's the prime example of it. Call and want to talk to Maria Galani from the Ohio EPA. And she was the one in November of 2014 that quoted, if they do what they say we do, we back them, we back them. So I called the Ohio EPA and I said, I'd like to talk to Maria Galani. Well, what do you want to talk to her about? You know, you did that, or, you know, why do you want to talk to me? I said, well, your statement. I said, the Ferguson group, Carl Kalbacher, and Dr. Manuta, you know, he's way better at math than I am. He looked at their core drillings and said, they averaged immediately. He just said, man, they averaged. He just ran it that fast. And I said, by golly, they did. And he said, so I said, well, she's not on that job anymore. I said, really? Where'd she go? Well, there's a guy named Dustin Teshuti. And I said, so we wrote Maria Galani a certified letter. She's not there anymore. We'll just take that letter and put it in a certified letter to Dustin Teshuti. And the guy goes, oh yeah. I said, after a person's on the job about 5 years, we like to replace them. I think Maria Galani's been out there about 20 years, and then all of a sudden, they take $3.5 million from DOE, and they're still backing them, even though they barefaced lied right to the public on the depth of the core drillings, and they're still backing them, but to call the tune of $3.5 million. Now, just because they use the word buzzword dashboard, on our dashboard, why we've given you this, we've given the Sauter County Commissioners this, we've given people this, we've given it to you, so what? If it's coming from Doe, it's our money to begin with, or it funnels down through Doe, but then, you know, we go to the representatives, we go to Washington, and I'm here to tell you, they're no better than we are. And I want to tell you the gamut that we got when we went to Washington. And I won't name the names, but one office we go in, someone's sitting and picking pimples on their legs while they're talking to us. Squeezing pimples on their legs.
True story.
Fact, and I've got a witness. I'm looking over at him going, hell's fire, we're in trouble now. You know, we're the ignorant hillbillies, but I've never sat in an official meeting and picked pimples on my legs. So then another one, we get hugged like we're family. So then we go to another meeting, and it's in my state, and that's all I'll say, down towards Paducah. But we go down there and said, you know, that's a good thing you're trying to help those workers down there in Paducah. Well, come to find out, the government was trying to get $750 million worth of tailings to USEC. The USEC tried to pay the government $50,000 to take back, but when they found out it was valuable, well, they were just about ready to go into bankruptcy. So we go in there, and as soon as they said, you got any more questions? I said, yeah, how many more workers you guys gonna let die before you do something? I said, well, this meeting is over. You know, throwing her hand down. I said, meeting was over before we even came in. Then we go to this other meeting. Portman wouldn't even see us. I forgot I wasn't going to say names, but he wouldn't even see us. So, but then get this other person, and we stay over an extra day. You'd have thought the Red Sea parted when we walked in. Oh my gosh, I hear you, I hear you. They give us documents.
We gave them documents before.
We've given them documents, 1,000 pages of documents. So where's those documents? That girl who worked there with us before took them. So here's another copy. So reach out to give them to them and said, you're signing for these. So we got them signed for those documents. Now this is 2012. And they say, you want the deal that USW got? I said, hell no, I don't want that deal, because it didn't look like they got much of a deal either. What deal did they get that we didn't get? So even just recently in 2015, the CDC comes back out to the plant. They don't even write to the guards. And I mean, I'll stand up for you guys all day. I know what you did. I know what you did. Many times we were right there with you. And I know you'd stand up for us on that too. And it said, you know, whatever deal it is, it's a bad deal. And then these are public records, so you can go look them up. Larry Elliott says in public record in 2008 at a meeting at Piketon, there was a criminal conspiracy to alter radiation dose at Piketon. We got the documents. Well, now he's on 911, serving those good people on 911. I guess he did such a good job on us that, and I hear 911's about out of money, and their troubles are far from over. And but I've talked long enough. I'm hoping I'm not going to keep the floor if there's anyone else that wants to talk. But I've talked in front of the OCAS, and that was Health and Human Services. Dr. Paul J. Seimer, whole committee full of PhDs. So I'm hitting my report when I'm talking, and everybody on the committee except him is jumping up out of the seat. They're looking aghast. Their hands are on the table. He's sitting sideways, fighting on his thumb. I said, I trust those 50 documents I gave you that I'm asking you to read into the record right now, Dr. Zimmer, were shared with your committee. And they did not. And before we went away in the meeting, this is the way, when you go to Washington, oh yes, we're going to put those documents in them. We're going to put them on the internet so people can see them. We're going to, well, I've got those documents. But we've given enough chance. We've given enough chance for people to do the right thing, and they're not doing the right thing. And I've got those documents, and I've got the transcripts of the hearings where we gave testimony and called those documents out and the list of what they knew and when they knew it. So if there's someone else who'd like to talk.
I just want to follow up on something you said. He mentioned the human radiation experiments and Hazel O'Leary.
Yes.
There is a C-SPAN video. You can actually watch that where Clinton apologized to the radiation experiment families. The large booklet that they put together about this thick was there to be distributed, and that's now available on CD. The conference to present this information was held on the day of the OJ verdict. I'm sure that was just coincidence. Oh wait, there are no coincidences.
One thing, and this is not a joke, and you asked the man, and I want you to know this is the 40th anniversary of the Silkwood trials. Danny Sheehan this year. And so we talked to Richard Rasky, and Richard, I said, how we doing, Richard? He goes, oh man, you guys solved this thing. I said, you gonna say that publicly? He goes, no, I'm writing another book. And I said, well, good for you, you should. But you gotta know this. When I told that story about John Dane going to Chicago, we made 2 boxes, and Vina was there. We made a box and gave to Congressman Strickland, and we gave one to Bob Alvarez of evidence. And whenever he stood up and agreed to meet with the unions and talk to the unions, they busted him for pot.
And sealed his office.
They sealed his office, so
where the documents were.
A man named Milky comes to me, who was one of the investigators at the plant. He goes, we can't find that document. So whenever I was testifying, I said, well, you know, now they say they've lost the documents. I said, no harm in losing something, but you didn't ask for a replacement of it. And that makes me, you know, I mean, it's just like conspicuous. There, it's conspicuous. There's nobody from the governor. There's conspicuous. There's nobody from Winstrip. Name them. And at least Senator Brown, even if they don't want to talk to me, they're here. So I think it's the joke's on us. But so Bob Alvarez gets busted for pot, and but Bob Alvarez went on to work on the Fukushima incident. So I think he's quite eclipsed and surpassed the people that thought they would shut him up just because he wanted to help these unions. And I understand that his wife was quite ill, and I don't know what the circumstances. She had cancer, but at the time you couldn't get medical marijuana, but it doesn't matter. It's who in hell ever heard of a high-placed person in DOE getting busted for pot shortly after they agreed to help the unions get to the bottom of how they had been exposed, and then had worked on human radiation experiments, so they knew the length and depth that they would go to. That they'd take a black man that had crashed in his car and had a compound fracture. And I am a nurse now, so I guess I'm kind of a hillbilly nurse, but it's, you don't inject radiation into a man that's wounded to come in for help. And they called it experiments, I call it homicide.
Amen.
It's homicide.
Can I ask a question real quick? This is hard for me to talk about, but I forgot to mention it. One of my sister's doctors asked her if our family would want to have my father's body exhumed so the tissue could be tested to see exactly what our family was exposed to, because she had, this is a different sister, but she had been diagnosed with a condition that was very unusual for someone her age, couldn't handle that. You know, we couldn't do that. It just felt so overwhelming. It still does. I'm getting kind of dizzy talking about it. But is that anything that anybody has ever been suggested? Well, I know they used to offer families that worked with the APA, they used to offer money to buy the, the body and test it. I don't know if anybody ever did that. Has anybody ever, does anybody have any insights if that would be something reasonable to do at this point? Or, he was in the special cohort, we already got the funding, that's not the issue. It's our health now that's the issue. And I just want to throw that out there.
I want to touch a little bit on human experimentation. In 1992, I was personally invited to Secretary Hazel O'Leary for the human experimentations. And I met many of the families and I testified. I testified on behalf of workers because I thought we were being used as guinea pigs. And so my testimony is in the 92 documents. I want to...
It was 95 that he made the presentation.
Yeah, well, it was 92 when we had a whistleblower conference in Washington, D.C.
It's in the book. Is your testimony in the book?
Yeah. And it's just, you go tell somebody your story, what's going on and what's happened, they're not going to believe you. And with me, I've had so many overwhelming stories through this 39 plus years of researching the plant. And people begin to think, oh, you're crazy, would you come up with all those stories? But I'm not crazy, I'm sick, and I want the government to be accountable for what they've done to this community, what they've done to these workers. Not only Portsmouth, but Paducah also are going through the same thing. We are a sister plant, and it seems like we keep getting overrun. Now, the important thing of this meeting is we have released the documents tonight that shows that they have contaminated us with plutonium and transuranics, and it's been covered up. So with that saying, and then this stuff should stop them from putting it in that waste cell. This does not need to go in that waste cell. In 1980 something, they used to call it the Midwest Compact, and we lobbied there and had set up hearings, and we had like 250 to 300 people that showed up down at Shawnee State saying that we do not want this waste cell. So they let it die for a little while, thinking the community is going to forget. And then they turn around and come back out with another name, and they're calling it the waste cell. But it's actually the Midwest Compact for DOE. And so we fought it. They know we worked for it. And they thought we'd go away, and no one would say anything. And they came back and came to our county commissioners. The county commissioners in every surrounding county has given them approval to go ahead with this waste site. You need to contact your county commissioners.
Didn't the SSAB withdraw their support from it? And that was the community group that was in the study of doing it here, and the very group that was committed to support it has withdrawn the support. We've not had a finding of fact. I know Chick and I know you widely traveled. We went to every elected official that in both states. My wife said, why do you keep those pictures with those guys? I said, boy, I don't know. I said, I'd like to have them do their job other than when they come down there to be elected or want to vote from us, and they need them votes. But they forget about us in this interim period, and I think that there needs to be an investigation of the EEOICPA, period.
Definitely, it's just like people are double dipping in the Energy Employee Compensation Act. They're fighting these workers tooth and nails. We really shouldn't have to hire an attorney that they represent us. It should be an automatic win.
Okay, go ahead.
David is here. Yeah, that's all.
Could I address something that Kim brought up real quick? Kim was talking about having the doctors get that letter, and it's really hard to get them to sign that sometimes. When I was a safety officer until they got rid of me in '97. I was the one that discovered they had falsified our dosimeter batches, and I will go on record as saying that. That went all the way to OSHA, it was reported. When they find them, they took our radiation records, put them through a wood chipper. Now that's a fact, and I can prove that with the findings. They took the archive tapes and destroyed those. Now, all of a sudden they say, well, gee, we've got records now. Where'd you get them? Where did they come from?
Chick, you might mention that they're using Cardarelli's report.
Yes, and they're using John Cardarelli's 97 report from NIOSH, which has false information in it. That information, according to them, material handlers only worked 3 hours a week out of a 40-hour week in the vaults, in the storage vaults. The guards, we weren't even there supposedly. Now, anybody that knows the guards, they know they made us live in them vaults. We were there 24/7.
That's correct.
And because of the false report that NIOSH accepted from the plans, it says that the material handlers, because they only worked 50 weeks out of a year, had 2 weeks off for vacation, and that 3 hours a week out of a 40 is all they spent in that vault. They only got 0.75 millirem. That was their dose, and that's what they're basing our neutron dose on. Now, I will testify to this in court. When they sent me to Bicron school to learn how to read and to operate that equipment to work as an observer, I was certified about it. When we were going through the class, they were putting up actual read sheets from the plant. In those read sheets, they had alpha, beta, gamma. You go over about 8 or 9 rows, and here was a thing that looked like a little cross with circles around it. And I'm looking at these numbers and thinking, man, those are awfully low. I said, alpha, beta, gamma. I said, what's this symbol over here? And the guy that's teaching the class, he was a computer program that designed this program. He goes, that's the neutron symbol. I said, that is not a neutron symbol. He goes, oh, well, that's what the company wanted us to put up there. So I said, if we add all this up and add this up, we're going to get this number you're saying we're getting down here. Well, yes. Add it up, folks, guess what? Didn't even come close. It was anywhere from 15 to 30% less than what the read actually read. And when you get into the hard copy records in the OSHA hearing, and you can find it in public record down there when I testified on this, we were getting the guards, because I had to have every guard sign a release so I could look at his radiation records before they were destroyed. I had 4 guards that would not allow me, and I said, that's fine, I won't look at your records. The guards were getting between 6.8 to 12 rem a year with no neutron exposure. And as Dr. Manuta and I, mine was at 12 rem a year. Because I was low guy on totem pole, and I got stuck in those high rad areas all the time because of that. When we figured in, based on NIOSH's calculation, of 15 to 30% more neutrons that should have been added. My 15 years out there, I had over 240 rem. What's the legal limit? 5 rem in a year. After 5 rem, you're not allowed to work around radiation for 1 calendar year. They would have to send you home and pay you your full wages because they didn't have another job for you. Now, that's what was happening. And I actually know exactly how they falsified the badges. But I wanted to say that, and that's part of the problem. And one of the things we brought up in the OSHA hearing is that, they literally had people testify to how ignorant I was. Said he doesn't have a college education, he doesn't understand how to read these. I said, when I got up to testify, they sent me to Bicron school. I passed all the tests. Here's my diploma. I'm certified to do this. I do know how to read those sheets. And I said, if I was wrong, why did Lockheed Martin take all of our radiation records and put them through a wood chipper. Now, if I was wrong, they would have traveled those out and said, look how ignorant he is. But no, they did not. They destroyed them, which gets back to part of the problem why we have to go through this. And with the guards, they were saying, when NIOSH came up to visit, and they're looking at our jobs, trying to make this matrices up to figure out how much dose we got. They said, the guards are all at the main gates. They're not out here anywhere. They didn't see us in the process buildings. They didn't see us in that M60 machine gun nest that we had in them process buildings. They didn't see us hid down in the PW where we had bunkers with automatic weapons to protect that stuff. They didn't see us. They didn't come in there. They didn't want to come in there because they knew what was in that building. That is the problem. The matrices is not correct. The doses were way lighter than what they were. When Herman Potter came to me and says, Chick, I think they're putting our records through the wood chipper, I went to Paulette Williamson, I went to Gene Gillespie, and I said, Gene, they're putting our records through the wood chipper, you gotta stop this is illegal. And he said, what the F do you want me to do? I said, I want you to do your job. And he was actually on the phone to Washington when I went into his office discussing what they were doing. We had a very warm conversation after that. But that's why this thing is such a mess, because they've lied from day one. They've never told the truth. The matrices is wrong. I helped work on the mortality study. I actually helped work on that. And I know what they did. And it's this simple. If Joe Blow has lung cancer, he's in the hospital dying. We pulled over I think it was something like 40,000 death certificates to check on the cancer. If the doctor wrote sepsis first instead of lung cancer, we weren't allowed to count it. Even though he's there dying because he's got lung cancer. But if they wrote sepsis, we weren't allowed to count it. There's a reason why they did that, and I can't go into that, but people will probably be held legally liable for what has happened. And that's about all I can say on that.
Old Gene died of lung cancer.
We have two more speakers that came, Dr. David Manuta and Dennis Foreman. Dennis is on the SSAD board, and Dr. David Manuta represents sick workers. He's a chemist, and turn it over to you. We had to be out here by 7, but hopefully we've run over just a little.
Vina, thank you for inviting me, and for all of you who are here tonight, and thank you for staying. Now, I've got, I pretty well over the phone presented my absence note to Vina. I had a hearing in Philadelphia yesterday for a retired worker. And this has been a very busy year for travel, with not only doing hearings at the Resource Center here, but for those who are not near resource centers, to travel around the country with them. Because without professional representation, it's almost impossible to get a claim accepted in the EEO ICPA. I wanted to share with you just a couple of quick hitters, and then it'll be Dennis's turn. Probably one of the ugliest claims that I had is one that will be in federal court, and hopefully it ends the behavior of some of the senior level people in this program. About a year ago, we had a hearing in Chicago for a man at the Argonne National Laboratory. He had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Claim is denied under Part B. The usual drill. The dose reconstruction didn't come up high enough. I've already told NIOSH they ought to submit the computer code to the Nobel Prize Committee so that it can be awarded the prize in fiction. Because in most instances, it's worthless. So anyway, we pursued the man's claim on the basis that he was exposed to trichloroethylene under Part E. And the claim was denied at the recommended decision level, so we filed for a hearing. Now, during my due diligence, and this is what distinguishes between me and Dr. Stokes, who's the in-house hired gun, is I found a study that a lot of you are familiar with, the 2017 study at Camp Lejeune, the Marine Barracks in North Carolina, because trichlor contaminated the drinking supply system, and the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry connected the exposure to trichlor to multiple different cancers, including non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So we had the hearing. Now, my so-called adversary is Dr. Stokes. She cites a 2014 paper and says that there isn't any cause and effect relationship between exposure to trichlor and the onset of non-Hodgkin's. Well, we've got the study in 2017 that says the opposite. And when you read the report, which Dr. Stokes didn't do, and she therefore deliberately cherry-picked the medical literature. Now that in itself is a crime. That's fraud. That was the first of 4 counts in 2018 that I was able to document. She'll soon have a visit from the federal marshals, and what I've asked them to do is when you walk around on the perp walk, make sure that you videotape it. I want to see the look on that woman's face when she finds out that she probably will be in jail for a number of years. Well, anyway, at the hearing I presented this, and I was shouted down by the hearing representative. He didn't want to hear it because he knew if it was allowed to be heard and memorialized in the transcript, they'd have to accept the claim. And the poor man probably already had the final decision letter to deny written, and he didn't want to gin up a new one because all he wanted to do was sign and date it and be done with it. So anyway, the claim, of course, was denied. When I spoke to him afterwards, he says, haven't I always treated you fairly? This is a hearing representative who'll be in the man's house of detention if she's in the woman's house. And I told him, I'll tell you what I think, but not until the court reporter turns off the recording device. Anyway, I presented that particular case to attorney clients that I worked with who've been involved in the tobacco litigation and now with the drugs. They're looking for the next class action case. Guess what? We're going to fill up just about every federal court district in this country with outrageous denials like this one. Between the 4 sites here in Ohio, will be certified at the federal court in Cincinnati. The 4 sites, Portsmouth, Manuta, and General Electric. So one of the lead lawyers says to me, so why should we take this case? And I said to him that there's only 2 places where 2014 comes after 2017. I'm an old cold warrior. The first one is the Soviet Union, and the second one is the Department of Labor. He's hooked. And therefore, Dr. Stokes is in deep, deep trouble. Now, we found out about a week or so ago that she may only have 3 counts of fraud against her because we fought like the Dickens with them in Cleveland on a man that many of you know, Jerry Stewart. Jerry died of Lou Gehrig's disease. And Dr. Stokes kept on refuting his doctor at Ohio State and me. Finally, what I said to the claims examiner is she doesn't know what the hell she's doing. And I gave him the detailed explanation, and guess what I find in the mail before I head out to Philadelphia? The recommended decision to accept the claim. It's because that one in my portfolio is the first Lou Gehrig's disease case that I've had accepted. Nationally, I don't know how many have been accepted, but it can't be very many. But the fact is, this man suffered for 7 years, and I don't have to tell you what a horrible disease it is. His wife has had enough to deal with the last 2 years. And to put her through hell after he passed away, when you got a world-class doctor at Ohio State and a pit bull like me, it's like, what in the world is going on here? And so anyway, I'm at a point now where, as we fill up the federal court dockets around the country, I want to be in position to tell the big shots with the Department of Labor, do you actually want a jury to hear what I have to say? Because it'll be humiliating and it'll be career-ending. I'll close with one of my favorite sayings, is it couldn't have happened to nicer people.
Dennis Foreman, he's on the SSAB board at the Pikeman plant, and he's been fighting the waste cell rules with the car with Mayor Billy Spencer and them. So we want to hear from you.
Thank you. Let me take that off there.
Yeah.
Sorry I just got here. I'm also a teacher. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just have a question. I'm kind of ignorant and new
Go ahead.
into this.
Oh my gosh, that's loud. Who's the sound guy? Okay. You're not ignorant, sweetheart.
What is SSAB?
Now I'm not here promoting myself being on that because that's one of the rules. I just want to make sure there's people in the audience. That's one of the new rules that we're not allowed to talk about that as an influence. But the name is called Site-Specific Advisory Board. They have similar names in other sites. The Cold War sites, they have these. It was put in by the help of Senator Sherrod Brown. It was a good thing to give the people a voice. And to be honest with you, I'm using that voice when I'm at those meetings. But here, I'm talking to you as a citizen of Southern Ohio. I grew up down the road from you in Piketon, Ohio. My Uncle Bob and Aunt Sue Sanders, they live in this town. My Aunt Sue still lives here. I graduated from Shawnee State with honors, and I'm proud of that. And when I graduated, I had the opportunity to work for Ted Strickland, the congressman, when he was first elected. And I remember buying my present at Christmas time as a Rookie of the Year card. That year, they gave congressmen baseball cards. And Ted, he was a really good guy, Congressman Strickland. He took good care of me, and I ended up being his veterans representative. I'm an Air Force veteran myself, so it was a pleasure to work with him. Now, why am I here? Why did I come all the way down here? I live in Piketon. I teach in Chillicothe. I have a track team. I'm going for my 10th championship, but this is important for me to be here. I love where I come from. I am proud to be from here. I'm tired of being put down and given scraps. We do not deserve scraps. If anything, we deserve an infrastructure that's going to sustain our children. Although this is small numbers, we speak loud. I just learned last week that the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States was authored by a person that grew up in this town from the age of 4 to the age of 35. Then he went towards Toledo. Branch Rickey. We know what Branch Rickey's about if you're from here. We have a proud history. Roy Rogers, Kathleen Ballard. I could keep going on. Al Oliver. Football started right down the river. There's Spartan Stadium. This town here is taking back ownership. So is my town. Piketon is taking back the ownership. I'm no longer asking Congress and the Senate and the President for permission to speak. That time is over. It takes one voice to make a noise, and I'm going to make it. Now, as I was going through my drawers the other day, because when I did work for Congressman Strickland, what I come across? I don't want to misquote anything. The News Watchman, and I do have the original copy, but I'm afraid to carry it because I don't want no one to take it from me because it's amazing to me. And nowadays with social media, everything's online and disappears. Let me tell you what day it is. It's August. Some of you know this date. Some of you here, Dr. Manuta, you know this date. You've heard this story before, Vina. Sunday, August 15th, 1999, the front page of the Pike County News Watchman. What's it say? Plutonium shipped to the plant unknowingly. Here's a quote. I realized we were working in a chocolate factory, but we always took pride in knowing what we were working with. Mark Lewis, local coordinator, WHDP. How about that? How would you feel if you was working in there, you didn't know what you was working with, and they know they're shipping it to you? Is that how we get treated in Southern Ohio? You know how Southern Ohio gets treated? We get a whack. It's called a waste acceptance criteria. And if you want anything, I'll explain it to you later. I'll help you. Because it's taken me a long time to learn these things. And there's a reason it takes a long time to learn. They don't want us to know them. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what it is. They want to hide it from us. No longer will I let that happen. No longer will I let them demonize the people in this room. Many people in this room, the reason we're here is because we care. It takes a lot to get up here and speak for the people who come before me. I appreciate it. And I'm sorry I wasn't here earlier, but I was delivering another package to someone I heard was in town from the New York Times. Guess what? I found him. I don't stop. Well, that's why I'm single. My friends would say otherwise, whatever. So, I just got a little bit to go through and I'll be done. I'm sorry. I get a little emotional because I love my town. We are the people from Southern Ohio, and I wrote this on the way down here as I was talking to my phone as I was driving. I went to school and graduated from Piketon. I furthered my education at Shawnee State University. I joined the Air Force. Graduated from honors from Shawnee State. I ended as a staff sergeant. I played by the rules because I grew up poor. I'm not upset by that. We've seen the news story lately. If you're rich, you can pay for your way into a school. I grew up in a 14 by 70 hallway. Some call it a trailer. But you know what? I grew up with love. I grew up with respect. My mom and dad told me to tell the truth. And if I didn't tell the truth, the backside of me felt a lot different than before. And that's the way some of these congressmen and senators, I think they need to get their parents' things back out because they need some respect. Now, like I said, I'm not upset by growing up poor. I work hard. Anything I got is because I earned it. No one give me loans. I had to fight for everything. I had to join the military to give myself a chance. But you know what? I'm proud I did that. And it structured my life. Also, the proposal of building a nuclear waste dump in Southern Ohio. Why is it in 2009, bipartisan Republicans and Democrats have, mind you, signed legislation, sent it to then, I think it was Secretary Chu. Thank you, Dr. Manuta, for shaking your hand. I appreciate you. So, we said any bit of nuclear radioactive waste here would do what? Hamper reindustrialization. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. That was Ted Strickland. That was Gene Smith. Let's see, Voinovich, Zach Space. There's a long list, and I'll get you a copy. Some of you already have the copy. It's 2009. Now, lately, if you're on Facebook, how has 10 years aged you? Well, Southern Ohio, 2009 to 2019. Oh, well, now it's a good idea to have a nuclear waste dump. And you guys, it's going to be good for reindustrialization. Do you know who's going to reindustrialize it? Do you know? It's supposed to be you and I. You and I. Guys, Governor DeWine just declared us a national emergency because our infrastructure is terrible. Are people paying attention? I do the data. 54% more rain was in Piketon, Ohio, where I live, than in 2018 above Seattle, Washington. They no longer can claim they're the rain capital. It's Southern Ohio. Now, I know it's not just us, but 54% more rain. Why would you want to put nuclear waste when our roads are falling in? Another road just got shut down in Pike County today. I'm in Piketon, Ohio. I'm on the village council. We're struggling. We put in for FEMA money. I think FEMA's still in shutdown, I guess, because we put money last February, And now here it is this year. I think it's rained a year straight. I don't remember seeing a shovel. We had sunshine one day last week. I was like, oh my. I run outside, I was like, well, I better wear a hat on it because I'm gonna get a sunburn. But we get a lot of rain. Now let me give you another point about what happens in Southern Ohio. If you don't know what a pilt payment is, you'll hear all these terms. They tell you all these terms, so they want to keep us ignorant. But you're not, sweetheart. I'll help you. I'll teach you anything you want to know. It's called payment in lieu of taxes. We're good people, so we just struggled. We took everything they said because we got good jobs. And there's nothing wrong with that. But here's the deal. Why is it at the other locations, they get pilt payments? Payment in lieu of taxes. Almost 4,000 acres of our land is destroyed forever. Now they want to take the one place that's kind of clean, that can be reindustrialized, and give us a shot. You know what they want to do with it? Bury nuclear waste a lot closer to our people. 1,007 foot. Do you want to buy that house? No. Guess what else my people did? Just like JFK said, don't ask what your country can do, ask what you can do for your country. Guess what, my country? Here's what we're doing. Village of Piketon, we bought an air monitor. Elizabeth Lamerson, an individual citizen, bought an air monitor. Seal Township bought an air monitor. Cider Township bought an air monitor. How sad is that? The people of Southern Ohio are putting over $5,000 in air monitors, and then we're going to check the air. I'm tired of DOE not giving us responses. Yes, sir.
Did you have your air monitors on last Thursday? Do you know about the fire at the plant?
I've heard the rumor about the fire in the plant, and I heard the way they got what I hear through the rumors is they just opened up the doors and stuff. Now, Piketon wasn't alerted. I'm chairman of police and fire at Piketon Village Council, and the emergency system, I haven't heard nothing. So,
we heard the alarms did not go off around the plant to warn the people.
well, my dad's 82 years old, and he lives with just a little over 2 miles. He heard nothing. But that's pretty sad. And our air monitors, they're on. They're in the newspapers. Our people are proud to stand up for each other. And that says a lot for 2 small townships that have roads that are falling in to buy an air monitor because we're scared to death. Because the same thing was happening in Hanford, open air demolition. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Manuta. Open air demolition, is that right? Contamination got off site. They had to stop it. Ladies and gentlemen, they're doing the same thing in Piketon. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to do the same thing. So, what I'm trying to say to you is that I'm tired of them demonizing people for speaking up for what's right. If this goes forward, this will be the largest environmental disaster on this eastern Mississippi the United States has ever dealt with. People are rushing to get this buried. Go by the Comfort Inn. All the trucks from West Virginia, their company, excavation trucks are coming in. They're staying, look, I see it. They're staying in my town. They're going as fast as they can because they think that once they get one piece of stuff put in there, we're done. So add insult to injury. What else do they do? The contractor gives grants to everyone except my town. They punish my town. They punish the people that speak up for the people. They punish us. They give hundreds of thousands of dollars all around us. Right now, they're putting in water and sewer and taking the customers of my village. They're breaking the rules we have with the fellow neighbors. They're breaking the rules. Now, not only do you not pay us a pill payment, now you're going to take my village's water and sewer money. I'm mad as hell. I'm tired of it. I thought my government worked for us. I thought my government cared about us. I still love my country, and that's why I'm speaking up. All I want to say to you, everyone in this room, when you learn something, and you know it, and you do nothing, you're just as guilty as anyone else. Speak up, speak loud, speak often. I live in the United States of America, and I have that right, and you have that right. But if we don't exercise it, it's going to disappear. Right now, I'm still an elected official, I'm still a teacher, and I'm proud to be the United States of America. With that, our government needs to help us out. We're crumbling. You have children, grandchildren, friends, and neighbors. If you do nothing, these kids will have nothing. This town here is showing me hope. Plant Portsmouth, they did a Christmas killing out here. They are trying like hell to turn it around. We are in Piketon too. We're taking charge. We're redoing our old building in town. I know some of you gentlemen back here from Pike County, the old grade school is getting redone. That wasn't done by the Department of Energy or the local contractor supposed to be in our community. Now the local contractor, Floor, their mailbox is in my town. But that's about it. They don't like to spend money on us. Please, if you have anything to ask me later, I'll answer them. Yes.
Thank you, Dennis, and thank you for your service on the SOB. But I do have to say, I applied for one of those years ago and was turned down. But I've gone to a lot of meetings of prior SOBs in your group as well. And it felt like, now maybe, and I'd like to get your perspective if you can, it felt like it was for like a formality, like a ruse, that okay, now we have public input, but they were going to take the public input and do whatever they wanted anyway. So I got really discouraged about that, plus with the public speaking, when you get a chance to tell your point of view. So do you feel it's changed at all with your SOB, or? Oh, yeah, it's changed. They've changed the whole United States of America. Now, I won't get a flack for this, because where I speak, but I ask the hard questions. They should be asked. They just put out new rules. Basically, the rules say you can say, that's about it. So I'm not here representing the board, so I'm not breaking the rules on the camera. I'm not breaking the rules. But I will tell you one thing that's public. I helped author a thing to open the recommendation of record decision. I'm sorry. My brain's going so fast. It was 18-2 last year. And the vote was 8-6 in favor, but you have to have 2/3. There's things that I've written about people should recuse themselves. I mean, thank goodness for Jeff Sessions. He did the right thing. It was honorable. That man did an honorable thing. When you have an interest, it used to be in the old days, you recuse yourself. Some people don't understand how that works. Our government needs to enforce it. So with that, the recommendation was to open the record decision to discuss the WAC, which is the waste acceptance criteria, what they can put into this thing. They can put anything they want into it. They're not going to test anything. Yeah. And then they brag about, it was the most electricity and back in the day is more than New York City. They're tearing it all out. But they don't tell people that. They just tell you the past. Don't tell me the past. Tell me what today is. They're going to tear out the water. They're tearing out all that infrastructure. So that is, to me, is terrible. So there's a thing I'm doing. It's called Majority Report, Minority Report. It's kind of funny. The majority has to write a report, and the minority won. It sickens me to think there's some people on that board should recuse themselves. Just like anyone here, if it was a business for you and you're on a council, if I'm on a council, I'm going to benefit my business. I can't vote on that. You recuse yourself. You stay honorable. Just like when I heard you talking, Dr. Manuta, about people, I think we need to bring back common sense to our government from the lowest level to the highest level, because this is getting ridiculous. If we want to stay the free world, the leader of the free world, then we need to keep the free world has to have some checks and balances. If it doesn't have this, ladies and gentlemen, then what's the use of us being here? What's the use of us going to meetings if they're just going to do what they want? That's not how it works. I'll end on this. Why is it the Department of Energy, for the first time in their history, is going to go against the will of the people? Why? The first time in history. We don't want it. Piketon voted against it. We're sitting in Portsmouth. You listen to me. Portsmouth voted unanimous against on-site disposal. Chillicothe, Ohio. Jackson, New Boston, Kingston, Athens. I'm even pointing in the right direction, though, because I'm from here. So, you tell me, all these people, we the people spoke up. Why are they continuing to shove it down our throat when we are having more rain we've ever had in the latest history in this whole region? Portsmouth last year in February, the floodgates were up. New Boston schools were getting flooded. Marion, Ohio, the college was getting flooded. Ladies and gentlemen, the weather is changing. We're listening today, I was listening to NPR, farmers lost their whole farm, it's fifth generation, out in Nebraska. So what are we doing? Anything east of Mississippi in the nuclear waste zone? Guys, come on. I teach 8th grade science. Do I need to go up there and teach people in D.C. how it works?
because I think they forgot the basics. Now, Dr. Manuta, you're a very sharp man, but the basics to me, low and wet, anything east of Mississippi, is ridiculous for a nuclear waste dump. Give me a break. So, I'm Dennis Foreman. I appreciate your time. Thank you. Yes, Vina's got a petition up here. There's one from Food and Water. If you'd like to sign it, helps out. I think Miss Ann White needs to hear from you people and also your congressmen and senators, because if you say nothing, they'll do nothing. But I appreciate your time. A few voices can multiply fast. Just take 2 rabbits, so I don't have to tell you more than that. So we can multiply our voices through your friends and family. So I'll stay for a while afterwards. If you'd like to talk to me, I'll talk to you. I appreciate your time. Thanks for being here. It means a lot. Thank you.
On the petition right now, we have over 640 names, and if anybody would like to take some and gather them in the community, we appreciate it. I want to thank Senator Brown's office for sending someone here, and hopefully the next time that we can get the senator to come and talk to the community. There's another community group in Piketon, and there's a person who sits on the board when they come in to the plant. We've been here since 1987. They hold all the meetings when the representative comes to town. They hold all the meetings on plant side, so we're not involved. We pushed for the study for NIOSH, and when the NIOSH study came out and they told the workers about the plutonium and the transuraniums, we weren't invited on plant side. So, there's something wrong with this whole system when you lock the community, the sick people, the sick workers. When you lock them out of this process, there's something wrong with that. Thank you all for coming.
Fine. SODI, Southern Ohio Diversified Initiative. You heard of that one? Guess where they just moved their offices to? The plant site.
Yeah.
It's not even part of the community. Now, you can go there, but you have to have what's called a brown card to go to the bathroom. I'm like, well, I have to go. I might use your brown card, but you tell me you're not. I'm being dead serious with you. I'm being kind of funny, but you have to have what's called a brown card, if they call this, to go to the bathroom. So you can go in and meet with SODI, but you can't go to the bathroom. Guys, it's a little ridiculous. Why would SODI be at the plant site? Some people don't want to go to that plant site with the stigma of us living here and growing up here. Some people don't want to approach it, so I just thought you need to know that SODI is moving out there. They're already there. So that's one for you to think about.
They've been a group who's pushed for jobs for that plant for years. They've always been part of the company. They're not for us. They're for big industry, no matter whether it's good jobs or bad jobs, and we need some jobs, and the government owes us some work in this community for what they've done to all of us.
Thank you.
Anybody would like to have a follow-up meeting or something, let us know, because we can hold them, and maybe next time we have more people, it'd be helpful.